They looked me in the eye and told me to leave their house. The same house my wife and I bought. The same house we paid for, insured, maintained, and kept out of love for our son. The same house we opened up in good faith, only to be told, "You're not our kind of people." That was the moment I knew something had snapped, not just in the situation, but in me. Because you don't get to erase your parents from your life and still live under their roof, not without consequences. And if they wanted a life without us in it, well, I was ready to make that happen. It started years ago, quiet, generous, and full of hope. My wife and I live in New Jersey. We both commute into Manhattan for work. It's a good life. Stable, busy, sometimes exhausting, but blessed. When our son went off to college in Pennsylvania, he fell in love with the area. He wanted to stay. He saw a future there. So we did what we could to support that dream. We bought a 4-bedroom house in Pennsylvania, a second home officially. But unofficially, it was a gift, a foundation, a way to say, "We believe in you. Build your life. We'll handle the rest." We didn't ask for rent. He paid utilities and groceries. We paid taxes, maintenance, everything else. It wasn't a transaction. It was family. It was love in action. And for a few years, it worked. He was growing into adulthood, learning responsibility, and even fell in love. She seemed nice enough, quiet, polite. Nothing set off any alarms. They got engaged. She moved in. The rhythm changed, but nothing felt out of bounds. Until the barbecue. It was meant to be a celebration, a warm, getting-to-know-you event with both families. Our son, his fiancée, her parents, her sisters. My wife and I were there. Our daughter, too. The house was filled with laughter, sunshine, and burgers on the grill. But somewhere in that warm summer afternoon, something turned cold. My wife and daughter went inside the house with the fiancé and her family. I stayed outside, tending to the food, oblivious. When they came out, I knew immediately something was wrong. Tight jaws, wet eyes, no words. They just said, "We're leaving, back to New Jersey." And in the hours-long drive home, through silence and shock, the truth came out. We were uninvited from the wedding, not because of a fight, not because of a misunderstanding, because we were not their kind of people. That was the phrase, delivered apparently by the fiancée and her family, repeated by our son, who said he didn't want us to embarrass them at their wedding, the wedding of our son, our only son. I didn't yell. I didn't explode. I didn't curse anyone out. I just went silent. For a week, I sat with it. The shame, the betrayal, the image of us driving home while strangers took our place at the table. I kept thinking, how did it come to this? How did I raise a son who could let that happen? But I didn't act in anger. I waited. I breathed. And then I went back to the house, not to fight, not to scream, just to talk to my son. But he wasn't there. Instead, I found the future in-laws, all of them. Parents, sisters, fiancé, living there, spread out, comfortable, casual. And when I knocked on the door of my own home, they asked me why I was there. I said I came to speak to my son. They said, "You need to leave. This is our house now." They told me to leave. And that was it. I said they had 30 days. 30 days to pack, to go, to get out. I was selling the house. If I wasn't good enough to be at my own son's wedding, then he wasn't entitled to live in my home. They panicked. They called my son at work, and he called me. His voice was frantic. "Why are you selling my house?" I reminded him, "It's not your house. I bought it. I pay the taxes. I keep the lights on. You've lived here rent-free for years. But if you've chosen a new family, a new life without us in it, you'll need a new home to match. And I meant it. He had made his choice. And now, he'd live with it. I contacted a realtor. I began the legal process. I told them all, 30 days, and then I'd bring in a lawyer. I wasn't bluffing. I don't know what they told the neighbors. I don't know what lies they spun to save face. But I do know what they assumed, that our son owned the home, that he was wealthy, independent, a catch. That's why they welcomed the engagement so fast. That's why they moved in. They thought they had secured the bag until they realized the bag was never theirs. The fallout was strange. My son didn't apologize. He didn't explain. He didn't say I made a mistake or they pressured me. He just sounded shocked. Like it had never occurred to him that love has limits, that you can't spit on someone's soul and expect them to keep paying your mortgage. That kindness is not a blank check. That generosity can be withdrawn. And still, even now, I don't hate him. He's my son. I raised him. I held him when he cried. I taught him to ride a bike and watched him walk across the stage at graduation. And I know, deep down, he's not evil. He's just weak. He let other people tell him who was worthy. He let strangers poison the well of his family. And maybe, just maybe, he's starting to taste the bitterness of that choice. So, am I the asshole for evicting my son? For selling a house I bought? For drawing a line between love and humiliation? Or was this the only way to say, you can't erase your family and still expect their gifts? You can't reject us and keep the benefits. This story isn't just about property. It's about dignity. It's about the quiet line between unconditional love and self-respect. It's about what happens when entitlement meets reality. When someone who's been given everything forgets where it came from. But beneath the drama, there's pain. You can feel it in the father's voice. Not rage, not revenge, just sorrow, disbelief. A man who tried to do right by his child, who gave and gave until the giving turned into erasure, who reached out with love and got silence in return. This is the part of family stories we don't always talk about. The betrayal that doesn't come with shouting matches, but with quiet choices. The son didn't scream. He didn't disown his parents with words. He just stopped including them. And that's the real heartbreak. When someone chooses others over you, and then pretends it's no big deal. To the audience of AITA Story Vault, what would you have done? Would you have stayed silent? Let them live in your house while calling you an embarrassment? Or would you have drawn the line, not with hate, but with boundaries? Comment below. Tell us, where's the line between forgiveness and letting go? And if you've ever had to make that call, we're listening. Because sometimes, the stories that hurt the most are the ones that teach us who we really are.